Ever catch yourself watching like those sci-fi movies
Yeah.
where people are controlling things with their minds
Yeah.
and think like, man, I wish I could do that. Well, get this.
Yeah.
We're actually getting closer to that reality
Wow.
with brain-computer interfaces,
Okay.
especially for prosthetic limbs.
Interesting.
So we are diving into some really cool research today,
Okay.
all about how scientists are using brain waves to help people control prosthetics, almost like an extension of their own body.
It's pretty remarkable how far this technology has come.
Isn't it?
We're talking about reading brain signals
Yeah.
and then translating them into real-time actions.
It's incredible.
Or people who have lost limbs.
Yeah.
This could be absolutely life-changing.
Absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this research study published in Computer Methods in Biomechanics and Biomedical Engineering is all about.
I see.
They're trying to create a system that allows for much finer control over prosthetic limbs using a method called EEG.
And it's addressing a major need.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the study points out that there are millions of people worldwide.
Wow.
85 million in China alone as of 2020.
Wow.
Living with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
many of whom have lost limbs.
Yeah.
And current prosthetic technology,
Right.
while helpful, still has its limitations.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Like those prosthetics that use muscle signals for control,
Right.
that can be so unreliable,
Yeah.
especially if someone's muscles get tired and
Yeah.
voice control.
Yeah.
Well, that just wouldn't work in a loud environment.
Right.
So EEG seems to offer a really promising alternative.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's non-invasive,
Right.
meaning there's no need for surgery
Yeah.
to implant anything.
Okay.
EEG works by picking up on the electrical activity
Mhm.
happening on the scalp,
Yeah.
which directly reflects what's going on in the brain.
So think about this.
Oh.
Instead of relying on muscles or trying to shout commands, someone could control their prosthetic just by thinking about what they want it to do.
That's pretty cool. That's seriously cool stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
The researchers in this study focused on something called motor imagery,
Right.
which is basically the mental rehearsal of a movement.
Gotcha.
So if you close your eyes and imagine yourself making a fist,
Okay.
but don't actually move your hand, that's motor imagery.
Interesting.
And the amazing thing is
Yeah.
that mental practice can actually strengthen neural pathways in the brain,
Really?
potentially helping with rehabilitation.
So just by thinking about moving, you could actually be retraining your brain.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Oh.
And in this study, they looked at 3 specific motor imagery tasks,
Okay.
imagining left-hand movement,
Uh-huh.
right-hand movement,
Yeah.
and foot movement.
Exactly.
Oh,
But here's where it gets tricky.
okay.
EEG signals are notoriously noisy and complex.
Really?
It's like trying to hear someone whisper in a crowded room.
You've got a lot of background noise that needs to be filtered out
Yeah.
to extract the signal that we're interested in.
So how did they tackle that challenge? How do you sift through all that mental chatter
Right.
and find the specific signal that corresponds to the intended movement?
Well, they used a clever combination of signal processing techniques.
Okay.
One of them is called wavelet denoising,
Right?
which is kind of like having a super-powered noise-canceling system for brainwaves.
So it's kind of like taking a fuzzy radio signal and
Yeah.
tuning it until you get a clear broadcast.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they also used a technique called sample entropy
Okay.
to measure the complexity and randomness of the signal.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that one down for me.
Sure.
What is sample entropy?
Yeah.
And how does it help?
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Different thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagining moving your left hand versus your right
Yeah.
produce slightly different patterns of electrical activity in the brain. Sample entropy helps us measure how complex and random those patterns are,
I see.
which in turn allows us to distinguish between them.
Ah, so it's like a fingerprint for different thoughts.
Exactly.
And I remember you mentioning something called the Erders phenomenon.
Yes.
Does that play a role here too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
ERD stands for event-related desynchronization,
Oh, okay.
and ERS stands for event-related synchronization.
Gotcha.
Basically, these are changes in brainwave patterns that occur when we think about movements.
Okay.
ERD represents a decrease in brainwave activity in specific areas,
Uh-huh.
while ERS is an increase.
I see.
The researchers used these shifts in brainwave patterns to identify the specific thought patterns for each of the 3 imagined actions.
So they've cleaned up the EEG signal.
Right.
They've identified the unique patterns for each movement.
Yes.
What happens next?
Well,
How do they actually turn those brain signals into commands for a prosthetic limb.
That's where the magic of machine learning comes in.
Okay.
They tested 3 different machine learning algorithms to see which one could most accurately classify the EEG signals
Okay.
and translate them into commands.
So it's like teaching a computer to read minds.
Exactly.
That is what I call mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
Which algorithm emerged as the winner?
The top performer was a type of neural network
Okay.
called a backpropagation neural network, or BP for short.
Okay, I have to ask, why was the BP neural network so good at this?
Sure.
What made it stand out?
Well, a neural network is inspired by the way our own brains work,
Right.
with interconnected nodes that process information.
Mm-hmm.
The BP network is particularly good at learning complex patterns
Okay.
and making predictions based on those patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it was able to achieve a remarkable 93% accuracy
Wow.
in correctly identifying the intended movement just from the EEG signals.
93%, that's incredibly high.
It is.
You know, I think people often hear about things like mind-controlled prosthetics and think it's still science fiction. Right.
But this level of accuracy shows that it's becoming a reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the researchers didn't stop at just classifying the signals.
Oh, really?
They went a step further
Okay.
and actually built an entire prosthetic control system
Wow.
based on this BP algorithm.
Okay, so let's walk through how this system actually works.
Sure.
Someone imagines moving their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
So the person is wearing an EEG cap
Okay.
that's picking up their brain signals.
Right.
Those signals are then fed into the BP algorithm, which analyzes them in real time
Okay.
to determine which of the 3 movements the person is imagining,
Right.
left hand,
Yeah.
right hand, or
Yeah.
foot.
Okay.
Then that decoded command is wirelessly transmitted to a prosthetic hand,
Wow.
causing it to move accordingly.
And did they actually test this system out?
They did.
Really?
The article even includes an image of the prosthetic hand in action,
Wow.
responding to the user's imagined movements.
That's amazing.
It is. Now, you mentioned the study focused on 3 basic actions.
Yes.
What exactly could the prosthetic hand do?
The 3 actions they tested were opening the hand,
Okay.
clenching it into a fist,
Uh-huh.
and rotating the wrist.
Gotcha.
These might seem simple,
Right.
but they're a crucial starting point.
Yeah.
It demonstrates that we can use EEG signals to control multiple movements in a prosthetic limb.
It's like taking the first steps towards creating a prosthetic that truly responds to your thoughts.
It is.
Almost like it's an extension of your own will.
Right.
That must be an incredible feeling for someone who has lost a limb.
You can imagine how empowering that could be.
Yeah.
And if we zoom out and think about the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
this technology has the potential to restore independence
Right.
and significantly improve the quality of life for millions of people.
That's what makes this research so exciting. It's
Absolutely.
not just about cool gadgets.
Yeah.
It's about giving people back their freedom and helping them live their lives to the fullest.
I
But I'm sure there are still challenges to overcome, right?
Oh, of course.
This is just the beginning, isn't it?
This is just the beginning. There's
Yeah.
a lot more work to be done. There's a lot more work to be done.
So where do you see this going?
Mm.
What other potential applications are there?
Well, one area that immediately comes to mind
Yeah.
is helping people with paralysis regain mobility.
Okay.
Imagine
Yeah.
someone who's been paralyzed
Right.
being able to walk again
Wow.
using an exoskeleton controlled by their thoughts.
That's an incredible thought. It could give people back their freedom of movement
Yeah.
in a way we've never seen before.
Exactly.
And beyond mobility,
Yeah.
think about all the other ways that we interact with the world.
Right.
What if you could control your computer
Mhm.
or your smart home just by thinking about it?
Exactly.
So instead of like typing on a keyboard or
Right.
using a mouse, you could just imagine opening a document
Uh-huh.
or turning on the lights.
Precisely.
That's so cool.
And what about communication?
Oh, yeah. Really?
Bypassing the need for spoken or written language.
That would be revolution.
It would.
Imagine being able to share ideas or emotions instantaneously without any barriers.
It's a fascinating concept.
It really is.
Of course, technology like this raises some important questions.
Yeah.
As it becomes more sophisticated,
Yeah.
we need to consider how to make it accessible to everyone,
Right.
regardless of their financial situation or physical ability.
Absolutely. We don't want to create a world where only a select few have access to these advancements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that this technology is used to benefit all of humanity.
Of course.
And there are other ethical considerations too.
Like what?
For example, as we become more reliant on brain-computer interfaces,
Yeah.
how do we protect our thoughts and privacy?
Right?
How do we prevent this technology from being misused?
It's like any powerful technology.
Yeah,
It has the potential for good and bad.
exactly.
And we need to be mindful of that as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to approach this with a sense of responsibility
Yeah.
and have open conversations about the ethical implications.
Mm-hmm.
But we also shouldn't let those concerns stifle innovation.
Right.
This technology has the potential to transform countless lives for the better.
Yeah,
And I think that's something worth striving for.
I agree.
It's all about finding that balance
Good lad.
between progress and responsibility
Yeah.
and making sure that we're using this technology to create a better future for everyone.
Well said.
Now, speaking of progress,
Yeah.
let's talk a bit more about the future of EEG technology itself.
Okay.
We've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the areas where you see the biggest potential for improvement?
Well, in the study that we discussed,
Right.
they used a relatively simple EEG setup. I'm curious,
Uh-huh.
could we see even more advanced and sensitive systems
Oh, yeah.
that can detect even subtler brain activity?
Absolutely.
And could that open up even more possibilities?
It could.
Yeah.
Researchers are constantly working on improving EEG technology, making it more portable,
Yeah.
comfortable,
Right.
and accurate.
Wow.
Imagine a future
Okay.
where you can wear a discrete EEG headband
Uh-huh.
that seamlessly integrates with your devices,
Okay.
allowing for intuitive and natural control just by thinking.
That sounds amazing.
It does.
And what about combining EEG with other types of biosignals,
Yeah.
like muscle activity or eye movements?
That's a great question.
Could that make the control even more robust and versatile?
Researchers are already exploring hybrid systems
Really?
that could leverage the strengths of different control methods.
That's fascinating.
For example, you could combine EEG with eye tracking technology
Okay.
to create a system where you can select an object just by looking at it
Gotcha.
and then use your thoughts to manipulate it.
Wow, that would be incredible. It would.
It would open up a whole new level of control and precision.
It would.
And, as we're talking about all these possibilities,
Yeah.
it makes me think about the potential impact on people's sense of self.
Okay.
If you can control devices with your thoughts,
Right.
does that blur the lines between our bodies and technology?
That's a really profound question.
It's
It
just-
makes you think about what it means to be human.
Yeah.
In an age where technology is becoming so intertwined with our minds and bodies,
Right.
and it's a question that we'll need to continue to explore as this technology evolves.
I think this is a perfect example of how scientific advancements often lead to deeper philosophical questions.
I agree.
It's not just about the technology itself,
Right.
but about how it shapes our understanding of ourselves, our place in the world.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing.
And as we develop these incredible technologies,
Yeah.
we need to engage in those deeper conversations.
Mhm.
We need to think about not just what we can do.
But what we should do.
Well, on that note,
Okay.
I think we're ready to move on to part 3 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the specifics of this research to the mind-blowing implications for the future.
Right.
But let's bring it back to the study itself for a moment.
Okay.
What really jumped out at you as the most significant takeaway?
You know what impressed me most was the sheer accuracy they achieved with that BP neural network.
Right.
93% accuracy in correctly identifying the intended movement from brainwaves alone.
Yeah.
That's huge,
It really is.
especially considering how noisy and complex those signals are.
It shows just how powerful machine learning can be
It does.
in decoding brain activity.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what's next.
Right.
What are the frontiers that researchers are pushing towards now?
One area that's really exciting is the development of sensory feedback.
Okay.
Right now, this research focuses on sending commands from the brain to the prosthetic. But imagine if we could create a two-way communication pathway
Okay.
where the prosthetic could also send sensory information back to the brain.
Wow. So someone using a prosthetic hand could actually feel the texture of an object they're holding
Exactly.
or sense the temperature of something.
Precisely.
That's incredible.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
To create a prosthetic that feels and functions as close to a natural limb as possible.
Wow.
And researchers are making progress towards that.
That's amazing.
It's mind-blowing to think about the impact that could have on people's lives.
It would be truly transformative.
They would.
It's like blurring the lines between technology and the human body,
Right.
making the prosthetic an integrated part of someone's experience rather than just a tool.
Precisely.
And it raises some fascinating questions.
It does.
If we can create prosthetics that feel like natural limbs,
Yeah.
could we potentially use this technology to enhance our senses even further?
Yeah, that's a thought-provoking idea.
Could someone with normal vision use this technology to see in infrared
Interesting.
or hear sounds beyond the range of human hearing?
It's possible.
The possibilities are incredible.
It's really pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
It is.
And it's all thanks to advancements in understanding the brain
All right.
and how it interacts with technology.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the amazing things happening in this field.
Yeah,
It feels like we're on the cusp of a technological revolution
I agree.
that could change everything.
It's an exciting time to be following this research,
It is.
and I'm eager to see what breakthroughs come next.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the future of brain-computer interfaces is incredibly bright.
It is.
From restoring lost function to potentially enhancing our abilities.
Yeah.
This technology has the power to transform lives in ways we can only begin to imagine.
Absolutely.
And as we've discussed, it's crucial that we proceed thoughtfully,
It is.
considering the ethical implications and ensuring these advancements benefit all of humanity.
Right.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this.
Okay.
This research is a testament to human ingenuity,
It is.
and it's a reminder that the world is full of possibilities waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery.
And remember, the future is something we create together.
It is.
So let's use this knowledge to build a world where technology empowers everyone
Right.
to reach their full potential.
Until next time, keep diving deep.